Howdy, folks. I'm Snarf,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Thundercats. Alright, our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my wife that I shouldn't be poor each month while she has a ton of money? Hey everyone, I'm a 35-year-old male and my wife is a 36-year-old female, and we've been married for 3 years. I have 2 children from my first marriage, and she has 4. I have 50-50 custody of my kids, she has full custody of her kids, and their dad is way behind on child support, so she provides all of their financial support. I want to preface this by saying that my wife and I keep our finances separate. My wife makes more than double that I do. She gets $50 an hour and I get $22. It's always been like that. We agreed that when we moved in together that we would split the bills equitably based on our incomes. She ended up covering basically all of our household expenses, mortgage, utility, cable, internet, food, etc. I would cover 1 week's worth of groceries and my car payment, car and motorcycle insurance, gas, cell phone, vapes, etc. All this changed when I wrecked my car earlier this year. I went shopping with my wife for a new car and I really wanted an SUV. My wife made me look at cars too because they're a lot cheaper, but I had my mind set. When we sat down to the finances, they told me that my payments would be about $850 a month versus about $380 per month for the car. I decided on the SUV and my wife didn't seem pleased. Anyways, my insurance was readjusted after the accident, and with my car payment and other expenses, I barely have $100 in expendable income each month. My wife has fun money and still throws a lot into savings and projects around the house. I was speaking about being frustrated about this with my sister, and she mentioned that a sign of financial abuse is limiting access to household money. So I approached my wife and said that I wanted to combine our accounts, that I shouldn't have to live like a pauper while she has money to throw around, and she told me that it was my own decision that led to me to not have a lot of disposable income, and that if we wanted to discuss a budget for fun money for each of us, then we could. I got really upset and told her that it isn't loving or right for her to have so much left while I barely have 2 pennies to rub together. Things got heated, and I'm staying at my sister's for the weekend. I don't think wanting things to be even is so wrong, but my wife is kind of right that if I had gotten a cheaper car, I would have more money. So, am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk?
Jerk, your wife is paying for basically everything for your household. Like, you buy groceries one week.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like basically you buy groceries once a month and that's about your contribution?
And she's right. Like, if you had bought a cheaper car, you wouldn't be. And she even offered, she's like, we can make a budget for fun money, but you shut her down. You just wanted access to all her money.
Yeah, that's really what this sounds like. I do think we've seen a lot of instances of financial abuse on this channel, but this doesn't really strike me as a situation where one partner is trying to control the other with their finances. She thought it was a bad idea, but she didn't stop you from buying the car. She just didn't seem happy about it, right? And she probably wasn't happy about it because she probably saw something like this in the future, right? She knew that you were probably going to want even more money. So I can't really blame her for being upset with the situation, and I think that she proposed a perfectly good compromise here. She said, hey, if you're not happy with the situation, then we can propose having a different setup with the fun money, but I don't necessarily want you to still have access to my full amount of money. And I think that's actually, given how you seem to go through money, pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it seems like she didn't want you to have access to her savings necessarily, but, she's got 4 kids, you've got 2. Like, there needs to be rainy day money.
Yeah, there does need to be rainy day money, and there needs to be some kind of rein in on the expenses. And you sound like you're pretty well driven by, these, I have my mind made up, I'm not going to do what's necessarily financially reasonable, but I'm going to do what I want to do because I think that this is what I want. And not to mention, like, an SUV is probably pretty hard on gas compared to like a car. And so that's yet another expense that your wife probably has to pay for because you chose a more expensive vehicle. So and you had a motorcycle too. So I don't know. It just seems like a lot of extra money kicking around. That's kind of my thoughts. Anyhow, take care. Good luck. You're the jerk. Your income covers 1 week of food for your combined family of 8, and the rest of it goes to just you. Your car payment, your insurance, your vapes, etc. Who pays for your kids' activities, clothes, shoes, etc.? She is covering the roof over your head and the rest of your household bills, plus raising 4 kids with no child support and no financial help from you. This is not financial abuse. Her not handing money over to you for fun when you don't take on responsibilities and make bad financial decisions on a car payment is not financial abuse. Yeah, I think I agree on that one. He's also acting like she's got like a ton of extra disposable money, and I really doubt that she does, given the number of expenses here. Because a family of 8 is not going to be easily like accommodated on $50 an hour, right? And yeah, unless she's working like ridiculous hours, right? Which she could be. All right, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Yelling at My Stepdad for Snooping Around in My Apartment After He Was Upset About What He Found? So, about a week ago, I, a 22-year-old female, asked my parents, a 47-year-old male, and a 40-year-old female if they could stop by my apartment just to check on my dog, who had been sick for a while I was at work. My mom agreed and everything seemed fine. They went over and gave my dog his medicine and took him for a walk. Today, though, I went to my parents' place for dinner and my stepdad refused to speak to me or even look at me. Eventually, I finally asked what his problem was and he went off. Apparently, he had been going through my things, and when he went to my bedside drawer, he found my toys and contraceptives. He yelled at me and told me that I was a disappointment and foul for having those things, and he didn't raise me like that for 17 years for me to become a deviant bad word. I stood there absolutely shocked and bright red from embarrassment as my younger brothers and grandparents were in the next room and could clearly hear him. I yelled at him for invading my privacy, telling him that I'm an adult woman and that he had no right to go through my things in my apartment that I pay the bills in. I have banned him from my home and have now blocked him. My mom says that I'm being dramatic and that it's just caught him off guard to see those kinds of things, but my brothers think that I'm right to be angry. So, am I the jerk? Edits. Just to clarify, he has been very abusive in the past, which came about after I started hitting puberty. Me growing up and maturing always seemed to be an issue for him. Also, my toys and such were in my bedroom in my bedside table, so not anywhere that he should have been. Update. A more positive update for everyone. My mom and I met for breakfast this morning. The first thing she did was apologize and tell me that I have every right to act the way that I did and that she should have been in my corner. She's looked into divorce, but I have 2 brothers who are underage, and because she works so much and travels for work, she's afraid that she will lose my brothers and have to pay 16 years of alimony. Update 2. I got home after reading all these comments. Thank you for everyone and your amazing support. And I found out that 2 of the contraceptives had been opened and 1 had a hole in it. I got rid of them and my friends with benefits went and got some new ones for us. Thank you for the people telling me to check them. Getting pregnant at this point in time would be excruciating for me because of my AS and my endometriosis. I cleaned all of my toys, and just to be on the safe side, I took the spare keys from my parents. All right, folks. What do you think of that one?
Definitely not the jerk.
Yeah, definitely not the jerk. I hadn't actually read that update yet, and so I was pretty shocked to have read it. That is not good at all. And that's reproductive coercion right there. And wow, just to prove a point of something, right? So no, OP, you're not the jerk in this situation. I think that you know that you're not the jerk, but it's hard when you have a lot of people who are yelling at you and telling you that you're in the wrong. So I was really glad to hear that your mom came and was on your side. And yeah, that's really good. That's a really positive development. And I'm glad you also checked your contraceptives and were able to find some problems with them. So, well, I'm not glad that you found problems, but I'm glad you found the problems before bad things. So yeah, anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, he went into your room, into your drawer, knowing exactly what he was looking for. And he wanted to find those things because he wanted to weaponize them against you. Your comments about his abuse confirms this. You did absolutely everything right. Alright folks, this one's a little bit of a lighter one than the last one. Its title is, Am I the Jerk for Tricking My Husband into Eating the Food That I Cooked by Making Him Think That His Mom Sent It? I want to preface this one by saying that I have a hard time believing this one. But I'll let you be the judge. Tell me what you think of this one. Is it real? Is it not real? I don't know. My husband Mickey loves his mom's cooking. He always praises her for the food that she makes and even mentioned it in his groom speech at the wedding. That's extreme. I consider myself a good cook. In fact, I'm just going to say that I'm even better than his mom. But the problem is that he doesn't even want to try my cooking or give me a chance to prove it. I thought this would change after marriage, but 5 months later, nothing has changed. What does he eat if he's not eating what I'm cooking? He requests that his mom sends him a meal over every single day to eat for dinner after getting off of work, except for the weekends where he goes over to her house and eats breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert there. Every single day, he'd come home and ask if his mom sent him a meal. I grew irritated of this, and whenever I tried to offer him a taste of any of the wasted food that I cook, he'd lay in his bed and say that he was full. So I came up with an idea. I cooked him the same meal that his mom sent him that day and put it aside till he got home. He asked if his mom had sent a meal for dinner, and I said yes, and I served him my own version of the meal, not hers. He didn't notice anything at all. He ate the whole thing with no hesitation while I sat across from the table asking him questions about how good the meal was. He went on, praising it, saying how perfect, exceptional it was, and how it was just what he needed after a long day of work. I smiled and I said, "You're welcome." He froze and looked at me for a minute, looked down at his plate and then back at me and said, "Wait, you made this, didn't you?" I said, "With my own hand from scratch." His face suddenly went red and he got upset and said that this was not cool. I told him that he never even gave me a chance to show him how good my cooking is, and that he probably just used his mom's cooking and is rejecting any other alternatives, which is unfair to me. He said that I shouldn't have lied to him and basically tricked him into eating food that he has no idea where it came from. I said that he liked it and he admitted that it was good, so what was the issue? He got up from his seat, threw the napkin, and said that I was unbelievable, and then walked out. He got quiet for the rest of the evening and then posted about it on his Facebook in a vague post about being tricked into eating someone's food like that. I felt guilty and bad, thinking maybe that I really shouldn't have done that, but I was frustrated with how he kept turning down every single meal that I cooked and said, "No thanks, I prefer mom's food." Am I the jerk? Amber says no. What do you folks think? I think that OP is... okay, so this is a little bit tricky in the respect that OP did trick him into eating a meal, but it was the exact same meal that the mother prepared. So, and in all likelihood, she used the same recipe, right? She probably got the recipe from the mom and used the same ingredients and used the same methods. So I think that as long as she wasn't putting anything in the food that was unexpected, then that's probably not necessarily like tricking someone into eating something that they didn't expect. It's more like tricking them into eating your cooking an identical meal versus someone else's meal, and kind of like a blind taste test. I do think that this is a little bit ethically gray, but I don't really think it's that big of a crime here. Certainly not as big of a jerk as the person who refuses to touch their wife's food, who cooks them meals pretty regularly, it sounds like, but is just outright rejected every single time, right? I just have one question. Why, OP, are you married to this man? Why? What other... Hopefully he has other redeeming qualities. Hopefully this is just like one really weird thing that he has, one hang-up, and that everything else is golden and rosy. But if it isn't, then why? So I would seriously consider this relationship, and the fact that he's throwing a hissy fit about you giving him the food that he even wanted is a little odd. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Info. Why would you marry someone who refuses to eat your food and makes his mother make him dinner every single day? That's what I want to know. Also, does his mom really want to make his food for the rest of his life, or has he made up a story to get her to do it? And also, what's he going to eat when his mother is gone, right? So I actually think that's actually a really good question. Like, this doesn't seem like a sustainable plan. Like, it's not a good situation, right? All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea here. Amber's got some tea. I did not guess my tea correctly, but let me know what tea you think that I have. And Amber has a joke for us. Oh, I guess I'm reading the joke. And all right. Well, let's try to not read the punchline here. Why should you keep the letter M out of the freezer? Well, because it makes a mess. Right? I mean, that's what the letter M does. Because it'll melt the freezer. Because it'll make it massive. It will milk it. It will marginalize it. It will Michael Dorn it. I don't know. There's a couple of different things that we could do with the letter M here. What does the freezer do? Because it turns ice into mice. Close enough. I think that my answer to the punchline was pretty close to the intended. Don't you? What do you folks think? And I have licorice spice. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving it a like, and if you didn't, consider giving it a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow. And Amber is waving at you. Goodbye! Tell me, who does an Amber better, Amber or me?